everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Reading Room Ruffians. This is a podcast for all things library related. That means reviews of books, talk of upcoming programs, library stories, guest speakers, and just generally everything that happens in our library. We are a group of librarians from Jackson County, West Virginia. Today we're going to discuss some of our favorite books, cover the battle of the books, mention some upcoming programs, and try not to wander off in discussion of other things.
All right, let's get started. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is the Battle of the Books. That is
like a program.
Yeah, a passive program, if anything, where patrons have suggested books that they really enjoyed in 2022, and we put them together, and they had to vote to see who has the best book. And we are down to the final two, and we will hopefully have the winner on Monday. Our final two are Four Winds by Kristen Hanna and A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman.
I really hope that A Man Called Ove wins, because I've read that one and I really loved it.
It is really good. That's my vote.
If I have to vote, I'll vote for that one. But I didn't read either of the two, the final two.
Yeah. So whichever one wins, we're going to read, and then we will discuss and see if it was worth winning. Now, if it's A Man Called Ove, two of us are Zach, have you read it?
I have not. I also didn't know it was pronounced Ove.
Yeah, it's like Swedish or something. I Googled it to see how to pronounce it, but two of us have read that, so the other two will have to read it, and then we can talk about it.
I reject that. I don't want to cry.
It's so good, though. It's so good.
It's a good cry.
There's no such thing for me.
I know. But it is a good book. It is really a good book.
I definitely believe it. Maybe I'll just do a synopsis of it.
You gotta read the first part where he's mad at the dog. That's funny.
Oh my gosh, yes, that is really funny. It's a really, really good part. I love it.
And then we'll have to compare it to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we need to watch that.
Yeah.
Is it out yet?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, It came out in early February or late January. Okay. Yeah.
It was at Parkersburg the other day when we were up there.
I want to see it so bad.
Completely. Okay, so do we want to move on to favorite books?
Sure.
Okay. Carla, do you want to go first?
When it comes to favorite books, it depends on what age I was at the time. I really believe that everybody has a book that hooks them on reading. And that one always has a soft spot in your heart, and you always can refer back to that one. For me, that was Black Beauty. It's the only book I've ever read 4 times.
I've never read it.
Oh,
Black Beauty.
Crushed.
I don't think that I've read it either.
Oh, the first place I remember is a large pleasant meadow with a pond and a tree overhanging.
Yeah,
something like that. That's the first paragraph.
That's crazy.
You know, funny thing. So the other day I was at a trivia thing, and one of the trivia questions was what 1877 book was about a horse, basically. Right?
Uh-huh.
And that was the only horse book I could remember was the correct one.
Yay! I thought they were going to ask something hard, like what was Black Beauty's best friends?
No, it was just what even is this book called?
No, Ginger and Mary Lou.
Did you say Flicka?
Yeah, that's a different book.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't read that one either.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I'm glad you got it right.
Yeah. It's because we watched that movie back in the day, the 1994 movie.
I do remember we watched the movie. I don't remember the movie.
We watched it a lot of times.
But I do.
It's a good story.
It is.
I don't think that I have a book that I remember that got me hooked on reading, because I started reading it so young.
Yeah.
I do vaguely remember some book that I really enjoyed about some girl, and I want to say she had yellow rubber boots, and she visited her grandpa a lot. And I remember her wanting to draw, they were building a new school, so they had the kids, draw what they think the school should look like, and she drew it as, a giant flower. That's all I remember about that book. It was so good, but I don't remember it.
We're going to have to find out what book that was now.
I know.
No idea what that
really
is.
will.
I'm very intrigued.
It's one of the patrons that come in. It's I read this book 20 years ago, and it had a pink cover. It's oh, that helps.
It helps a lot.
Yeah, we usually can find it, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're usually pretty good about that. Okay, so another favorite book, one of my favorite books that I suggest to people, and it's actually on my list of demands that my friends read.
Can confirm.
Is Gone by Michael Grant. It's about this town. Suddenly, almost like a clear bubble comes down over top of them. But they can't, it's like clear because you can see the sky and everything like that, but you can't see anybody on the other side. Mm-hmm. And everybody over the age of 18, or not 18, everybody over the age of 13 disappeared. So if like your parent was driving you somewhere, they're gone. And you're just going in a car by yourself. Babies get left unattended. Kids at school left.
Well, that's scary.
Yeah. And there's a public school, and then there's a private school, and then there's like a, not a nuclear plant, but something really dangerous like that, some kind of plant there that's all encompassed in this bubble, right? And these kids have to figure out how to survive and take care of each other. And as the story goes on, they end up finding out that some of them have magic powers. Not all of them, and some of them get mutations. The animals have mutations, like the snakes fly. The worms will eat people. Oh, God. Yeah, it's scary.
This is your favorite book.
That's so good. It's such a good book. I will give the disclaimer that there is some cannibalism in it, and a lot of children do die. So, like, if that's something that bothers you, I wouldn't read it, but it's really good.
How old is this book?
I don't know. I read it when I was a teenager, so at least 10 years. But it's really good. I'm trying to think. There was something else I was going to mention about it. I don't remember. But when you in the bubble, when you turn 13, you disappear. Yeah.
Wow.
I was going to ask that, actually.
Yeah.
You haven't read it yet?
It came out in 2008. No, I haven't.
2008 is when it came out.
Which, yeah, that's 15 years, by the way. Yeah, the reason I was going to ask is there's a TV show on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called currently, but sort of the same thing happens, but it's over the age of 21. And once kids start turning 21 in the town, they just disappear. They get sick and die, violently.
Like in this one, there is a plague that happens. Yeah. That's very violent. But there's 6 books, I think. And then he has an offshoot of it, which I think is based more on the monsters. I haven't read those yet, but I have read the other ones. Mm-hmm. They're really good.
Zach, do you want to do your favorite book?
My favorite book. If I had to pick one book, it's definitely The Hobbit. Like Mom, it was the one that actually got me into reading, I think. I don't know, there's something nice about it. It's just nice, it's whimsical, it's not like The Lord of the Rings, which can be a bit of a slog. And it's just a fun little book, and it's very episodic. You can read it in chapters, right? 1 or 2 chapters a night, and it's just perfect that way. It's a great, intro to reading type of book, I think.
I did read that one. Yeah.
I still haven't.
Don't watch the Peter Jackson films because they're awful.
I love the movies.
Nah, they're bad. The first one's decent. The other 2 are just a mess.
I think I remember watching the animated one years and years ago.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember
because
that.
I sang that song and you were mad at me.
Oh, well, yeah, the Lord of the Rings one.
Sorry.
Spoilers. Hello.
Sorry, didn't think about it. Sorry.
But no, the Hobbit, the animated Hobbit movie was fantastic.
But they played them all together. I mean, it wasn't like when I watched them, they were all together.
I actually watched a documentary about that Lord of the Rings film a while ago, and it just has the wildest, production story. And it doesn't even end, right? Does it? Is that the one that ends? There's one of them that does not end at all. It just says that, and then all of a sudden, the ring was destroyed. There might have been 2 different Lord of the Rings ones that were like that. It's so crazy.
It's hilarious.
It is. I don't remember my earliest book either, because I definitely was being read to before I even comprehended at the time. But the book that I have read the most, I have read it almost every summer since I first read it in high school, is Pride and Prejudice, which is kind of lame, I think, maybe to a lot of people, but I love it. It's so
nerd.
funny. It is so funny. Jane Austen is just absolutely hilarious, and the way she makes fun of society, especially as a woman, is just, I don't know, so amazing to me. And a lot of her books, actually, I want to say all of them actually, have definitely that wit and I'm pointing and laughing at you because you think you're so great. But Pride and Prejudice is definitely my favorite of her books. And I think it's mainly because all of the tropes in it are so exaggerated. And then, everything in it just always makes me laugh. And I love every single movie production of it, which is probably also really dumb of me, but I don't think there's a bad version. The mini-series from BBC America is my favorite, though. Like,
because it's
favorite,
BBC.
Yeah. Favorite. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have ever. Well, I've never read Jane Austen, which I'm embarrassed to say. Working in a library,
No.
have some classics.
A lot of classics.
But I never associated it with them.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I've never read her either.
Stiff.
Yeah.
I don't like most classics, though.
Classics are really hard.
Yeah.
And I've read quite a few of them, and most of them were in high school. And Pride and Prejudice was the only one that I really got into and was like, this is okay with me.
Okay, we want to move on to MiniCon now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is our seventh?
Yes.
Our seventh annual MiniCon. And for those who don't know, our MiniCon is essentially a very tiny version of like what a Comic-Con is. This year we are doing Welcome to the Multiverse, and instead of it being Marvel themed, which I know people are going to think that probably,
well,
and they're just going to have to be either disappointed or pleasantly surprised. Hopefully surprised. We're doing literary worlds. So this year we have Studio Ghibli, we have Harry Dresden, we have the Discworld, we have Sword Art Online, and Genshin Impact, and Doctor Who. So we will have each of these little worlds spread out around our library. We have crafts and games, scavenger hunts, trivia. We're having people come in and do talks. We're going to have someone show how to make a comic book, and hopefully we'll have someone come in and teach people how to create a character for like a RPG. And we will also have some RPGs going on during the event also. And then we have a bunch of vendors coming to sell their nerdy wares.
And the Praxis lightsaber.
Oh yeah, we're having lightsaber training. Yes.
And belly dancers.
So
dress up in cosplay.
Yeah, they usually do pretty good.
Yeah, I love their shows.
We had them before a couple of years ago, and when our theme was dragons, and they dressed up as different dragon characters and did a little show for us. So it was really good. This year is going to be April 22nd. So if you are in the area and you want to come, that would be awesome.
So I have great plans for the Discworld. I'm so excited. So excited.
Which I think would move us into the next category of like favorite books if you guys want to do that again.
Oh yeah. I've talked about this with several people. If I could only read one author for the rest of my life, it would be Terry Pratchett.
He's so good.
He is. I mean, it's like his books are incredibly unique, and he always has this wonderful bits of philosophy and a different way of looking at the world that really stick with you, and they're just great. I absolutely love them.
He's so funny.
Yeah. And you can read them over and over, and they're still just as good.
Yeah. Like, one of my favorite books I was going to talk about was The We Free Men by Terry Pratchett.
Yes.
Which is probably my favorite, like, mini-series within his Discworld series. Because he has, 40 plus books?
Oh, yeah.
All, taking place in the Discworld, but not all of them come together. Like, Death. He's the same in all of them.
Yeah.
But
otherwise known as Bill.
Yes, his name is Bill. He has a soft spot for cats.
Cats are cool.
Cats are cool.
Yeah.
But he is in the We Free Men series, but the Guard and Ankh-Morport, they're not.
No, they're not. They have their own separate thing.
So, and then the librarian at Unseen University.
Yeah.
That's its own thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a bunch of stories all in one universe, which is great.
I can also confirm We Free Men is absolutely amazing. I really wish I had that book, those books, whenever I was a kid. I don't think anybody could have not convinced me I was a witch.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
I mean, because you listened to them in the car when I was young.
Yeah.
And that's how I heard them at first. And then as an adult, I've reread them. And then I made all my friends read them. So
it was great. I was very glad about that one.
My favorite part about the We Free Men when we listened is like the first 4 chapters, I could not understand a word that Mac McFeagle said. But after the chapter 4, it's like they started making sense and I could understand it. And I thought, man, did they change the way they were talking? And no, it just took me that long to get used to the Scottish brogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, gosh,
Oh, it's thick.
Yeah. And then at the end of all the books, they have like a glossary of like what the word is, how they pronounce it, and what that actually means.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would be nice to have before you read the books.
Things in the field that go by.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, whaley.
Oh no, it's the person of the lips and the crossing of the arms and the tapping of the feet.
They're so good. So, highly recommend that one for sure.
Yes. And Dresden Files was definitely going to be my next favorite book. It's a great book series. It'll break you multiple times.
Oh my gosh, rip your heart out.
It's so worth it. I love Harry Dresden. Jim Butcher is fantastic. He's a fantastic author and also a pretty cool human from what I can tell. And Harry Dresden is an openly practicing wizard in Chicago, semi-present day. I think the first book was kind of written, I think in like the year 2006. So it kind of goes from there, I think. And I've read on Reddit somewhere we're kind of now to the year 2013 or 14, where the most recent book is, which is kind of weird if you think about it, because it feels like
it's
longer.
Now, almost.
He started off in his 20s or something. Now he's in his 30s.
He wrote the first book, Stormfront, for a college class, just to prove to his professor that he could write a book.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I loved listening to that.
And now they're so good. He has so many books, not just the Dresden Files, but he has like other series.
Yeah, I really want to read the Codex Alera. I haven't yet though.
Like I'm always going to be like, Harry Dresden's the best.
Yes.
That's a good book. I read those.
Yeah. I've heard they're amazing.
Oh my gosh, they are.
The Codex Alera books are very good, yeah. And his new series, the sort of steampunky type one, is pretty good. The Aeronaut Windlass.
Oh, yeah.
It's decent. It's definitely like all of his first books in the series are weaker than the other books. But that was a good starting book, I think. Like the first 2 Dresden Files are like, after reading all the Dresden Files, if you go back to those ones, you're like, oof, these are kind of rough.
Yeah, you can tell that with a lot of authors too, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jim Butcher, I read his son's first book.
Oh, yeah.
Dead Man's Hand. You can definitely see the similarities between him and his dad's writing.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I like his dad better, but his dad's been writing longer. Yeah. But it's not a bad read. So
I've been wanting to read that one as well.
I did read it because I was like, oh, this is his son. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think I rated it 4 stars, which is, I mean, I give out 5 stars like they're candy. So.
Same.
But I mean, it was not a bad book at all. It's just, you could see where he needs to work on his writing style and figure it out. And, you know, you get that with almost all authors.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you can actually go to the places in
the
Dresden Files.
Yeah.
Because like you went, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to a lot of the places.
He stole a
like, I mean, not all of them exist, but you can go to like St. Mary of the Angels. You can go to whatever the graveyard is called, Graceland Cemetery. You can go to like the aquarium, the Bean, like all that stuff. I haven't been to the Bean yet, actually, but I've been to a lot of the other places. Almost all the places that Ariel I've been to.
I want to make a trip up to Chicago just to go see the places in the book.
Yeah, I'd love to do a full tour.
Like,
I want to go to the Chalk, but I can't make it.
yeah, that'd be nice too.
That would be great.
Well, I read Serafina, and that takes place in some like house in North Carolina. And one of our patrons told me that house is there and you can go tour it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool to hear about. Like, just the idea of going to places that you read about in these books is really cool.
Zach, do you have another favorite book?
Yeah. So I was going to pick either the Dresden Files or Terry Pratchett books, both of which I've read all of. So, yeah, I mean, they're fantastic books. If I had to pick a different one, though, I would go with the Golden Compass trilogy. Was it His Dark Materials? That's what it's called. Those books are like, I think at the time I read them, they felt like they changed my life a little bit. Like they're just so good, right? They're, I would say, fairly deep YA novels. And the whole point is you've got, at least in the first book, there's also like there's a series out now. The series is very good too. But the first book is all about a world where you have a bunch of people in it. They've all got these things called demons. And the demons are effectively just their souls, but outside of their body. And it's about this mysterious stuff called dust and where it comes from and all that type of thing. It's a very interesting book series, and it goes all over the place, right? The first book seems very like self-contained, but then once you get to the end of it, it starts opening up into like these like crazy new worlds and things. It's an interesting book series. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but it's very good. And you should read the books, watch the series. The other two are better.
If you're really, really religious, though, that one's going to mess you up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, especially the last book. That's not great for...
You have to suspend that to get the message from the story, I think. Because
I think that's why it had such a profound effect on me, you know? Like, when... I was a teenager when I read them, and I was still like just sort of flippy-floppy on a bunch of different things. And it helped solidify a lot more of my views on the world after that. Also, the ending just like tears you up.
It does. It does.
It's pretty brutal.
That's the reason it's challenged so much, is that religious aspect of it.
Yeah. Seems silly to me. I get why people challenge it, but, you know, it's like, just let people read stuff, you know?
Anyway, speaking on letting people read stuff, we can move on to our next thing, which is the summer reading program that we have coming up. What is the theme this year?
All together now. It's like, I think it's hard. I think that's a hard one to work around.
Because like summer reading isn't just, you know, people reading books and logging them. We have programs every week for people for 6 weeks.
Yes.
And we do it from like as young as 18 months all the way up to adults. And we try to stick to the theme where we have a program where they can like do something or make something that fits within that theme. I personally have zero idea what I'm doing for my teens. So
this is a hard one. Ravenswood over there, they're gonna go kind of like the hippie commune vibe, because they're going to do peace, love,
and
books.
togetherness, essentially.
Yeah, peace, love, books. So which is kind of cool, and they can use all the bright colors, but I think this is a hard theme this year.
Yeah. I kind of didn't know if I wanted to do a D&D run through for the kids this year or next year, because next year's summer reading theme is basically epic hero adventures. So I think I'd rather do that next year. Yeah. So maybe this year we'll do like a world build, maybe. I don't know. I haven't settled on anything.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
My toddlers, they will be easy. Because they're toddlers and they don't care. They're just happy to be there. But yeah, the teens I'm gonna struggle with, I think.
Yeah.
But they're very excited about it because I have mentioned it to my teen group.
So if anybody out there has any ideas, let us know.
Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely.
And by the way, if you wanted to get a hold of us, we have a Facebook page. You can reach us. You can message us anytime, or you can email us at our social email address, which is jcpl.social@gmail.com.
And our Facebook is just Jackson County Public Library.
And for those of you that are old school, the phone number is 304-372-5343. I'm in that
group. Get with the times.
It's fair.
But yeah, so definitely if you have any ideas for us, that'd be great. Or if you want more information on MiniCon or even one of the books we've talked about, absolutely feel free to reach out. Okay, so I guess we'll end this off with, do we want to discuss just books that we've loved recently or favorite books any other favorite books we have?
I have discovered a new type of book to read. It's a book in verse. And I thought, I had to read this for class because I'm working on getting my master's. And that was one of our choices. We had to read a book in verse. I have never enjoyed reading something so much. The words literally just flowed. Mm-hmm. It was The Ghosts of Rose Hill. And I can't remember the author name. I have it in front of me. But anyway, I would highly recommend you try a book in verse of any kind because they're powerful. They really express emotions well. They carry a story beautifully. It's just, my eyes were open to a whole new world.
Yeah.
See, I read my first book in verse after you read that one. Mm-hmm. And I happened to find it. It was Jane Yolen. Yeah, Jane Gosh, I can't say her last name, Yolen. And it was, I think it's called Finding Baba Yaga. And I don't know if it was because it was so short. Mm-hmm. Because it was a short little book. I read it in like an hour or so. I had trouble getting into the story with it. And that could just because, it was a different style of writing and I'm not used to. And I couldn't immerse myself in that. But it was a really good story. And it got the message across in a more simplified way than what an actual book does. So I definitely suggest trying them for sure.
Yeah, the first one I listened to was Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, I believe. And I listened to it and she read it and her voice honestly is absolutely gorgeous. And so it made listening to it just a million times easier to do. I mean, reading it, I'm sure would have been great because the story was absolutely immersive. But yeah, listening to her speak, how she wanted it to be spoken was wonderful. So if that sounds kind of hard to you, I feel like maybe listening might make it easier for some people.
It probably would, yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I actually loved it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I read the first chapter of yours, and it's nice, which is why I tried the other one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could have just been that book too. Yeah. So, okay, so my recent read that I enjoyed was "The Girl from the Well" by Rin Chapeko, and I think it's themed as a horror book, but the creepy Japanese spirits that you hear about. One of them is the main character of this book. She's the girl from the well. And she goes out and hunts people who are killing children. And she stumbles across this boy that she's like, there is something wrong with him. And so she's like really interested in it. So she keeps watching him and like hanging out in his attic. And he periodically will see her. Turns out that he's possessed by another spirit. So the book is about her helping him and protecting him from this evil spirit that's possessing him and like trying to get rid of it. So it's like, you figure out what her name is and you can actually look her up. And she is an actual Japanese spirit.
Wow.
So it was really cool because it had that kind of history with it and you figured out how she became a spirit and why she's so angry. But also, you see this like softer side of her where she's like, you're not going to hurt this boy. So it's a really good one.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
We're running close to time, so let's go ahead and get these last two in here.
I recently read through 3 books by Naomi Novak, and the first one is called Deadly Education. I absolutely am obsessed with it. It's kind of like a high school, a little bit maybe also college, and it's a magical school. And if you are accepted, you kind of just get pulled into it and you essentially take what you have on you at the time. And so like a lot of people prepare for it, but a lot of less well-off kids don't really get that opportunity to have like food with them or whatever. So yeah, it's a cool thing, crazy thing. And essentially the school, your entire 4 years there is trying to kill you. There are monsters everywhere. They blend into the surroundings. They come from the pipes. They sneak in through the air vents. It really is just a crazy thing. And the whole thing was super fun. I was into it. I think I listened actually to all 3 in a row, which I don't typically do. And I loved that series.
Okay. I would not want to go there.
Okay, Zach.
All right, so I actually got a couple. I'm going to do 3. I'll be brief about each of them. The first one is Fairy Tale, which we just read for our little book club. It's a great book by Stephen King. It's not like his other books for the most part. You still get his writing style in there, but not quite as much. And you still get like the weird, horrific, or grotesque imagery in there. But overall, it's a much more, I would say, upbeat type of book from him. I mean, it's not an upbeat book, but it's upbeat for Stephen King. So that's saying something at least. The second one would be The Art of Racing in the Rain, which is about a dog and his owner, who is a sort of amateur race car driver. And it's about their life together. It tells the dog's full life, the whole thing. It's told from the dog's point of view. And it's just, it's a very good, heartfelt little book. And then the last one, which I've been reading for a different book club, is called Mouse. And it's a comic about this guy's dad who was in the Holocaust. He survived the Holocaust. And all of the different characters are different types of animals, right? So all of the Jewish people are mice, Polish people are pigs, Americans are dogs, and the Nazis or the Germans are all cats. Just a very interesting book. It's disturbing at times. The imagery is pretty disturbing at times. But it's a great book, and you get to really get a nice, I guess, second-hand view or first-hand view, depending on how you want to look at it, of what it was like being in the Holocaust. It's just a wild book. And it's kind of fun because everything is it's all animals and stuff. It's kind of cute. Also kind of horrific at the same time. It's very strange.
I have laid off to read that one, but I haven't worked up the courage yet.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm going to read it now. I think we have it.
We do.
Yeah. Nice.
Definitely should check those out. Highly recommended. All 3 of these books, but especially Mouse. So I'd say if anybody should read one, read Mouse. Definitely. It's not that long. Takes you 3-4 hours to finish, maybe a little bit more, depending on how much you look at the pictures,
All right, I think that does it for us. We're going to hop off of here. Thank you for listening to our first episode of the Reading Room Ruffians. And remember, the best libraries don't have librarians who shush you. We'll see you next time.